So one of the things I really like about reInvent is getting to meet lots of new people. You know that because I've talked about that so many times in these videos. And I've also used these videos to reach out to people that I've never met before and I kind of want to meet. And so Ewere, hello.
Hi, Mike. Nice to meet you. Hello, Mike.
Great to meet you too. So we were just starting to talk and I said, let's press record and let's just get to know each other in this session. So I'm calling from Brisbane, Australia, where it's quite hot and humid at the moment. And you're in Nigeria.
Lagos, Nigeria. Yeah, the commercial center of the country. Yeah.
Yes, and it's not the capital city, is it? It's not.
No, it's the southwest commercial center. The capital is Abuja. It's at the center of the country. Yeah. So this is a commercial hub. This way, I mean, everything tech, everything business happens. The headquarters of all the banks, and I mean, anything you want to do tech, this is where. This is our Silicon Valley, actually. Nice. We have a mini Silicon Valley here. So this is where everything happens.
I wonder whether a lot of, I assume that a lot of people think that Lagos is the capital. Like in Australia, I think a lot of people think that Sydney is the capital, which it's not either.
Yeah, not knowing Melbourne. Yeah,
yeah,
true.
It's not Melbourne. It's Canberra. It's a very small place that lots of people haven't heard of. Little Canberra, sit there in the middle of nowhere. But anyway,
wow.
Yeah. So we probably have something in common there. What's the weather like in Lagos at this time of year?
Yeah, so you know we actually have just two seasons here. So it's either dry or it's wet. Okay, so we're gradually transitioning into the dry weather. But I mean, I think climate change is really affecting us right here. I mean, when I was much younger, I mean 15, 20 years ago, this would have been quite a cold time for us, you know. We're talking about cold temperature. But I mean, it's so hot right now, which is really weird, you know. At this time of the year, it should be cold. I mean, yeah, it should be cold, it should be dry because we have the Sahara, we're close to the Sahara at the top, I mean, up north. So the Sahara wind is supposed to blow over. So we have the dusty, dry wind and the cold weather. That's what we should have normally. But we still have some rains at this time of the year. The weather is so hot, which, I mean, it shows that climate change is a global problem. It's really a global challenge. So it's not, it's a global problem. So it's so obvious.
It's real and it's a global problem. That's the two things that everyone needs to understand. Yeah,
I mean, as at October, we are supposed to start having that weather, you know. Okay, we'll call it Harmattan. That's Harmattan weather. Okay, it's a dry, dusty wind from the Sahara and the cold weather, you know. So, and then you wake up in the morning by 4 or 5 a.m., you see mist and fog, you know, all over the place. But we don't find it anymore nowadays. It's been like this for 5, 6 years. It's so different from when I was growing up. Very different, you know. I mean, as of yesterday, there were still rains, you know, in the country, in some part of the country, there were still rains, which is so awkward. As of November, you should have no more rains, you know, but I mean, that's our new reality. What do we do?
That's right. They were exactly that, new reality. And yeah, we all need to sort of pay attention and try and do the right thing. I suppose that's what we do. But yeah. So tell me more about your adventures with AWS, because you've been in AWS community for a number of years, right?
Yeah, I have actually. My story is kind of a very interesting one. I mean, the current place where I work, I actually had to, you know, share it to my team about. It was a story of, should I use the word, proving that what cannot happen can happen. Let me use that word. So, I mean, I'm in Africa, I'm in Lagos, Nigeria, and I mean, the persona of Africa to the world is very different, you know? So I see myself, actually started as a software engineer many years ago, and back in high school. And for me, it was a way of finding your feet, you know, as a teenager, as a young teenager at the age of 14, I was finding my feet in life. You know, I tried a couple of things, good enough. Everything I tried are the things I'm doing right now, you know, writing and tech, you know. So I wrote a lot of poems, got some good scores in my literature back then in school. My literature teachers loved me a lot. Unfortunately, I didn't do the arts, they're so furious, but I told them that, nah, I ain't an art guy, I'm a science guy, So I did engineering back in school. But I mean, those years were very formative for me because I did a lot of work around building myself, trying a lot of stuff. Then was Windows 98. I practically used all the applications and the operating system, and I got bored. And I'm like, is this all, And then my brother says, hey, look at this Java code. What do you think about it and all that? Look at this Visual Basic code. I'm like, whoa. So I can actually build a Microsoft Word. I can actually build a Microsoft Excel. And I'm like, wow, okay, that means there's no end to innovation. That opened up to me that there's actually no end. I mean, this is the end everyone sees, but there is more to this. And the next 14 years was about writing code, on all sorts of languages, from C# to Visual Basic. I built applications, I built websites, HTML, stumbled on PHP after my high school, and it was a very interesting journey until I got my first job, because I didn't grow up in Lagos, Nigeria. I grew up in another state, called Edo State. That's where I grew up. And when I got my job, I had to move over to Lagos, just after my school, because good enough, something I was always doing was, back then in my college, in the university, I already had a LinkedIn profile. Everything I was doing, any single website I build, I put it there. Any new skill I get, I put it there. So that kind of gave me some kind of, made me ahead to some extent. And I mean, recruiters found me, stumbled on my profile, and I mean, a young guy could come in as an intern, and also that was what they saw in me. And, thankfully I got the opportunity to get in. 2 years down the line, I felt like everything I was doing was the same thing every day, writing code that does just one thing, which is create, retrieve, update, delete. That's all. And I'm like, man, is this what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life? Just writing a code that does 4 operations, connect to a database. I'm like, nah, there should be more, there has to be more. There has to be more stuff, But before now, I was lucky enough to stumble into Oracle magazines, right before now. And I read a lot about, Oracle Exadata Machine. I used to see racks of servers, and I'm like, man, this is quite fascinating. And one article actually was the turning point for me. It was the fact that I learned that telecommunications actually relied on third-party customers to host what they call CDRs, which is called data records, okay? And, they show these big machines where these things are stored. I'm like, what's this about? Like, how does this connect to everything we do? And I said, okay, I think I'm going to be interested in this in the future. I don't know how, I don't know when, I don't know where, but I think there's something about this, I kept on reading the magazines, and I really did not understand anything I was reading. Well, I just got fascinated, Oracle were always talking about their interconnections with other companies, other services and all. And for me, I was like, what the hell is this, But, 8 years, 9 years down the line,
yep.
My team lead introduced me to AWS, and like, okay, you can set up servers and all. I'm like, okay, what's server? And the first time I stepped into the office, good enough, we had a rack. And I'm like, boom, whoa, this is what I saw 8 years ago. So this is a rack. Like, what's in a rack? What's a rack? I was so curious and excited. It's like a dream come true, like I could actually see a rack in reality, a lot of, positive energy, emotions started flowing into me. And for me, I'm like, okay, so what's the next thing, And my first task was to set up a virtual machine for Ubuntu virtual machines on this operating system and the rack and all. I'm like, damn, now this is what I'm talking about,
Yeah. Yeah.
The way I didn't know my line manager was actually testing me out, I was able to do all the installations, Ubuntu 18 or so, yeah. Set up Ubuntu operating system, create username and passwords, The whole idea was they were supposed to be test machines for local for developers within the organization. So they have the private IP address where they could SSH and, do stuff, test stuff and all that, But after it, and Okay, I'm like, what's next? I got a bit confused, So he brought me into AWS, he gave me login, he said, okay, you need to create an EC2 instance, the developer needs to deploy his application. I'm like, okay, what do you mean? And for me, I'm like, what kind of mess is this? Where do I start from, And then he says, okay, don't worry, come and sit with me. And he shows me the EC2 instance wizard, we create the instance, the next stage. As at then, my Linux knowledge was, I could barely SSH into a Linux instance. I could barely do that, And we launched the EC2 instance. Okay, what next? It was always a case of what next? What next? Well, for me, every achievement is a question of what next.
Sure.
Because I don't want to get too excited in the achievement and forget that there's so much more to do. There's so much more to achieve,
It sounds like AWS is a really dangerous environment for you because there's always something next.
Oh yes, that's why AWS is too exciting to me. That's why I if you look at my LinkedIn, I'm always hot there. I'm trying to do more stuff. I wish I always had more time apart from work. I could post stuff every other hour, So after that encounter, it changed a lot for me because the first year for me was more of a software engineer role because the company needed, actually I was employed as a software engineer, so they needed to build some product. It was a digital company. They went to digital marketing, so they had jobs where they had to build mini websites for clients and all that. So I learned a lot about integrations, integration into things like Facebook tabs and, all whatnot. But like I said, I got bored. It looked the same. When we got a new project, the senior engineer is like, okay, Ewere, just take this code, change this, just upload it, and everything will be fine. I'm like, okay. Once, twice, and I'm like, come on, man. This is innovation is killing. You're killing my innovation. It means I can't think. It means I'm not tasking my brain. I'm like, no, I don't think I want to do this anymore. But after the instance started launching, and I opened the services. This was 2016, and I opened the services at AWS, and I'm like, whoa, this is a lot. And I'm like, now this is where we are. Now we're talking. I know where I am right now. I think I'm in the right place, And from then on, it has been a very interesting experience for me. My team lead left the company, and I was tasked with being in charge of AWS account, and that was when I had the opportunity to actually become who I should be. And thanks a lot to my CTO who gave me that opportunity and that freedom, even if I should not have that kind of freedom at that point in time, because, I'm just a junior engineer in my first year in professional experience, giving the AWS account of a digital company, that makes billions of naira in a year. And anything could go wrong, we didn't have users. I had root accounts access, No. Anything could go wrong. Yeah, trust me, man. It was everyone had root account access. Everybody.
Oh, right.
Nobody was doing end users. Nobody was doing policies. It was a full-blown root account.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyone could just log in and create an EC2 and move on. That's how it was. It was crazy because the CTO created the account with his own email address. So we all had the email and the password, So everyone could just log in, launch what you want to launch. You can launch and C5, 8X large, launch an 8C, anything you like. Just,
Go
so.
Go for it. This is the CTO left though, right? So hopefully they didn't take that email address with the root account with them.
No, the CTO was still around. I'm talking about my team lead. So I had the team lead, the senior engineer.
I'm sorry, right.
Yeah, the CTO was still available, yeah. But he cared less actually. He just wanted job to be done. So whoever had the access, the password wasn't much of his business. So long as you're getting things done, Yeah. So, but the guy that left, that's my team lead, he left with his own credentials because, when you deal with root account, you know what's going to happen. Something bad must happen. And it happened, So right before he left, we had a 40K bill from a 4K bill to a 40K bill in 48 hours.
Right. And what was this? Was it a compromised credential or was it someone made a mistake?
It was a compromised credential. So pushing access keys to the GitHub account, public GitHub repository. Cool. Yeah. So Yeah, man. You know, so since you came in, I'm like, man, what's going on here, man? Guys, we need to fix this. We need to fix this. And then the senior engineer goes, okay, we're going to implement IAM users. And AWS was so nice to us that they waived the bill.
Sure.
Yeah, waived the bill, and it was a lifesaver. I mean, we paid 40K. Come on, man.
Yeah. No, so AWS will do that. I mean, it's worth pointing out that they won't do that many times, then they'll expect you to sort of fix things up for the next time. But sure.
Exactly. So the first thing, actually, the prerequisite for them to have waived the bill was, first of all, you need to be sure that right now we are actually going to work on the security. So they asked us, do you have IAM users? Do you have policies? Have you created any other security walls? Are you using things like guard duty? Are you using this? Are you using that? So we needed to create those, verify the accounts before they did that way. Because for them, it doesn't make any sense when we wait for you and the next day it happens again. Key rotations.
MFA. Let me hear you say MFA.
MFA. I mean, the CTO put an MFA on the account almost immediately. Yeah, and that was the luck we had. And it was implementing IAM users too. So that was also another. So we needed to do that. And a couple of months later, my senior engineer left, and boom, the whole load of AWS came to my laps.
Or to you.
Yeah. Because I was the only guy who was so interested in it. They were every other person was software engineers, And man, that experience was a lot. It was a blessing and a curse because there's so much to learn at the same time.
Yeah,
and
never stops.
You have to manage the expectations of the engineers. I have to be at top of my game. I don't know AWS. I have to do it. So a couple of months, EC2 instance is always pretty straightforward to get your head wrapped around. Once you remember the basics of an operating system, your hardware. But here comes well-architected framework. Here comes other concepts. Here comes cheaper ways. Here comes serverless. I'm like, okay, I think I have a lot more to read. And with that, I started changing a lot of things. And I walked to my CTO one day and said, his name is Deji. I said, Deji, we are going to eradicate SSH from this company. And he's like, what? I'm like, yeah, we ain't going to do SSH anymore. He's like, okay, slow down. What's going on? And I'm like, man, I watched a video, from Jumbo's go-to conference that he does every year. And, he talked a lot about chaos. He talked a lot about putting things right, So I was doing both DevOps and cloud at the same time, It was a mix of both for me, and I'm like, we need to stop this. Everybody cannot have access to production. Everybody cannot do what they like. Everybody cannot. And then when he saw that energy, the next week he sent me a link to continuous delivery by Jason. I'm like, read this guy, read this book and all that, So that was how my journey actually started. And I was able to start up a department, a DevOps department, because we were seen as system administrators, but I had to change the name of that and make it more of an agile team.
Yep.
What we used to do was, you need a server? Yes, we give you a server and we go to bed. Oh, the server is down. Oh, start the Apache server and we go. Oh, you need more space? We increase and we go. But I had to see that, I had to start explaining to the team and to my colleagues, to the bosses, that we need to move to the next level. We need to look at more agile stuff. Now, another thing is that before the senior guy left, he also started doing things around microservices and Docker. So it was a lot for me to grab at the same time, because the engineers just logged into production, SSH into the container, do anything they like, and they exit.
Yep.
And I come there and I'm like, okay, what's going on here? It was so confusing. So I had to say, okay,
so much to get your head around. So look, look, reInvent's on now, and obviously this isn't your first reInvent. Have you actually been to a reInvent?
No, I was supposed to, but I was denied the visa last year. So hopefully.
Terrible, isn't it? We should both be there now. But obviously reInvent, every time reInvent comes around, I can just imagine your head exploding with all the new things that you want to be across and to bring into the team that you work with. So what tell us something. What about this reInvent has what's been your main takeaway from this reInvent that you go, right, I want to use that, we need to roll that in?
Yeah, so my main takeaway from this reInvent, unfortunately, actually, is not my area of interest, which is machine learning. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, AWS has revolutionized AI and ML, and next year, AWS is going to be the best environment to do anything AI ML. I mean, I was looking into ML ops as at last 2 years ago. I didn't develop so much on it. Because I did some work in data engineering for a while. You know, I did some ETL pipelines and all that. So also got me very excited. I'm like, okay, DevOps knowledge can move into data engineering, can also move into ML, you know. But as at then, there were no pipelines for ML. What came out best there was Kubeflow. Okay. Kubeflow is from Kubernetes, but it was pretty at its early stage. Right now, it's a bit more developed, but I mean, take a look at what's going on in SageMaker. SageMaker is becoming a whole ecosystem of its own. I mean, the fact that you can actually check the bias of your model, tune your training, and retrain your model is just revolutionary. I mean, that's the biggest takeaway from me. I mean, machine learning and data scientists are going to be so excited in the coming months because the new services and SageMaker is going to make it so easier for them to churn out much better models. I mean, bringing in the concept of DevOps into ML is going to change everything because you do not have to, first of all, wait for so long to be able to fix problems with ML models. I mean, software engineering is very different from machine learning because software engineering, you can quickly go and update your bug, fix the issue, and deploy, and you're fine. But ML doesn't work that way. So if you're able to trace your modeling process, trace the modeling time, you know, understand when your model is becoming biased, and also fix that problem as you go along the way, that has been one of the biggest takeaway from me. And it's making me look into machine learning already. I'm thinking about it because I will need to bring this down home here to people in Nigeria and in Africa, you know, for those who want to go into machine learning, because it's much easier right now. It's pretty much easier to do ML at the moment. It was so hard before because if you don't have a Jupyter notebook, you can't do ML, you know. But SageMaker has not just come with a development environment, they've come with version control, they've come with automated deployments, they've come with rollbacks, okay, because deploying a model and taking it back to check for bias and retraining and pushing back is an agile method of bringing in agile into machine learning. So it's very revolutionary, which wasn't very easy because what happens before is when you build a model, you deploy the model, and you wait for the errors to come into production before you actually know what's going on. And then your customers get a wrong prediction, and you're like, "Oh, sorry guys, our model was biased. We're going to work on it. You know, just give us some time." And you take the model back, and you try to look for more data. You know, and you know that process was very manual, was very difficult because I've worked with ML engineers. I know how it is for them. It's a lot, you know, and the resources you need to train your models to, you know, it's a lot, you know. And I mean, if you now go down into deep learning using the TF framework, it's a whole new world. But all these have been coupled into SageMaker with autopilots, you know, with the ground truth, with all the services, making it an end-to-end, full-blown AI ML ecosystem for developing, planning, developing, deploying, serving, tuning, and finding biases in your ML models.
So, and obviously, absolutely, I'm with you on this. And SageMaker Studio, of course, is where all of that sort of coalesces into one user interface, because it's sort of acknowledging that machine learning engineers have got they've got their work cut out for them already. So let's not make infrastructure difficult for them too. So let's give them all of the tools in one environment where they can train, they can do the data wrangling, then they can train the models, then they can evaluate the models, and they can push them into production all in the one environment. And it makes a lot of sense to do that. And there are all tools that in a sense essentially could have been written by people before, but it's just that's a whole bunch of undifferentiated heavy lifting that you'd have to do in order to make machine learning work. It gives the machine learning operations team the opportunity to concentrate on what they want to concentrate on. So I totally agree with you. I'm very excited that that's being seen all around the world as being going to be one of the big things about next year, is about businesses getting real business and social value from machine learning. So it's moving out of the domain of the research laboratory and getting into the hands of people who are going to get real value out of it. I don't know if that's what your take on it as well.
Yeah. I mean, machine learning and data science, actually, data science, not data engineering, data science. For a lot of people, mostly over here, it still looks like something that it still looks magical.
Magic, absolutely, yes.
Yeah, and it's still difficult to fathom. But the fact that you can log into AWS, you can go to SageMaker Studio, you can start with existing built models, you can start with samples that can actually make you an ML enthusiast within 30 minutes, can open up a lot of opportunities for a lot of people. Yeah. You know, it's, I mean, starting off with AWS, most times AWS makes it so easy that you don't have to, understand your CLI or the API, just work with the console. That really gives you a way to fall in love, very easily and digest, at first. I mean, if you go to the studio, it has a very good UI with the new upgraded AWS UI that's been applied across all services. It's a bit much more intuitive and also very descriptive. I think a lot of expert learnings went into that UI design and the stories that goes with it. And you just click and get things working. And you're like, whoa, I can actually do this, And you could spend hours there because you've been able to achieve something quite simple. You built a model, you trained the model, you clicked on deploy, the model is serving, and you send it out to the model, you see the results of the model. I mean, quick results, which is what software engineering gives. Quick results. When you write an application, you see people can visit it, which was not possible. It's not still possible for a lot of platforms out there. It's not. If you're using a Jupyter notebook to do your ML locally, it's a lot of work. After the Jupyter notebook, you write your notebooks. Sometimes pushing it to Git, first of all, becomes a problem. I mean, where I used to work, we had a problem where the machine engineers could not push their IPYNB files into Git. It was a problem, So, and there was a lot of thought back around it. The engineer said, we can't push our code to Git. It's almost impossible. They're binary files. It's difficult. And all that. But all this have been solved in SageMaker Studio.
Sure.
Okay. Gives everyone a starting point. Novice, expert, enthusiast. And then from what you said, I mean, from the lab, there's no more laboratory anymore. You said SageMaker Studio is a laboratory. I mean, you don't have to think if it's possible. Just try it out in SageMaker Studio and you get your results and you know what to do next. I mean, that's the value of the cloud. You don't have to, I wish it was possible to have a 1 terabyte server. Oh man, that would be so much power. You don't have to, it's there. You can just launch it, use it,
Oh, wow.
That's how it used to sound with experimentation. You write a lot of papers, read a lot of journals, do a lot of learning, do a lot of reading. You don't got to read, man. Just get an AWS account and sign up and go to ML and get done, man.
That's right. Neat. Yes. Obviously, we're both very enthusiastic about AWS, and I completely follow all of your points there and agree with them all completely. We get no kickbacks for recommending any of this stuff. We just wholeheartedly think it's a good idea. Hey, look, you've given us a little bit of an insight, I guess, through the company that you've been working for. But can you give us a bit more of an insight about the tech industry in Nigeria as a whole, because it's a matter of fact that a lot of people just I mean, Nigeria, from a population point of view, it's a lot smaller than other countries. So I guess maybe sometimes it just needs to shout a bit louder to say, we are here, we are doing this. So if you were doing that on behalf of Nigeria now, what's the tech industry like in Nigeria right now?
I think we are actually climbing to our best times. I will start with myself. I mean, first of all, being the first hero in Africa is super big for me and for us, and also in Nigeria, because it didn't look like something that would ever come here, you know. So that's one, and it made a lot of people believe more that there's actually more they could also give to the world. But the ecosystem generally has been an ecosystem that has actually transformed over time. There are a lot of things that are just peculiar to Nigeria when it comes to tech. You know, there are a lot of things a lot of systems, a lot of technologies that are just peculiar to here that you might not find elsewhere so easily. And a lot of those things are built on, should I say, negative emotions that builds mistrust, and then make people to start saying, okay, we need to build this kind of system to get this to work. Okay. For example, the Fintech ecosystem. I mean, that's like the most interesting ecosystem in Nigeria. A company says, okay, if you want to make payments possible, you need to pay an amount of money. You need to get us to have on a call, support call, to do some integration for you that could take days, a couple of hours, you know, and after that, if you need any more support, you need to call our support line. Maybe it will take us 30 minutes to answer your call. And then, you know, it was a serious mess. And a couple of young guys come up and say, okay, nah, I think this could be better. And they get funding from Silicon Valley, and they come back 5 years ago, and boom, they started a company called Paystack. 5 years later, they're cashing out on over $200 million. Why?
Right.
Cut off the whole process. If you want an integration, you sign up in 2 minutes. Sorry, there's no time frame actually. The minute you sign up, you get the live access key and a secret key, and boom, you start your integration and start collecting money. That changed the game in the fintech industry.
And so what kind of timescale are we talking about? That's over the last couple of years, or?
Yeah. Paystack started about 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, that alone changed the name of the game. And if you're building a website and you need to collect money, okay, those are the guys you go for, because you don't call anybody. Nobody supports you for integration. Nobody supports you for anything. Everything is plug and play. And the good thing they also did was they opened up their SDKs for contribution. So the SDKs were open source projects where people build SDKs on Python, Ruby, Java, C#, PHP, and all the other languages. So if you want to integrate SDK, fine. Now they went a step further to generate what we call pay links. Pay links are, if you want to collect money, I'm not a developer. Maybe I'm just selling books. I just have a simple page where I can sell books. Maybe I get a website on Wix, or I have an S3 bucket website. And I'm not the fan of, you know, shopping carts and all those things. I could generate pay links. I put a link on the item you want to buy, and when you click on it, you land on the page where you can fill a form, and then you pay. So that also changed the game. So non-developers are like non-engineers, just simple marketers or simple people who have digital content to sell, or you want people to pay for something. You send them that link, and that account is attached to your bank account. So whenever people pay, it gets to your wallet, and you can always withdraw the money back into your account. That alone changed the payment ecosystem in Nigeria. And it led to a lot of other things. You know, people could also do lending more. You know, the credit system in the country is becoming better, which was almost impossible, because, I mean, getting a loan from the bank, from the commercial bank, is a lot, you know. And a lot of guys came into the system and so, oh, we could actually make people take loans, because tech has an ecosystem for give and collect, which was pretty easy to do. Okay, so when you get to the platform and you want to borrow money, you put it on your credentials, they verify you, okay? They verify your ID card and all that. And within minutes, within hours, you get credited in your account with the amount of money you requested for, which was the game changer. You know, everyone could apply for loans. You know, the taxi driver, the worker, the white collar job worker, the blue collar worker, everybody. It just opened up a whole new ecosystem. And all these are driven by technology and even the cloud, okay? Now, one of the lending companies is called Wi-Fi, and they did something very nice. They use AWS recognition for recognizing your information. So normally, if you want to apply for a loan, you need to fill a form.
Hey, he's back.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's all right. I'm so glad you froze, and I wasn't sure what to do. So I was hoping that you'd come back, and obviously you're back.
You kind of also froze, so I was wondering where the problem was coming from.
Yes, I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
And I've got this recording in Zoom and thought if I stop this, then anyway, we're back. So you were talking there, before you froze, you were talking about obviously fintech in Nigeria and how fintech over the last few years has sort of just exploded. And it sounds as though that's galvanized a whole bunch of the economy maybe, and certainly digital transactions and the like. And that's made a big difference. And in no small part, obviously that's technology based. And I'm assuming that that's a lot of that's going to be sort of cloud based as well.
Oh yes, a lot of them are cloud-based. I was talking about the company called Carbon that helps verification process happen right from the mobile app. So if you need to be verified for credit here, what usually happens is you need to go to a bank, you need to fill a bunch of forms, you need to have your ID card, you need to have your passport photograph, you need to hand it over to the bank officer, and they tell you, oh, give us 2 days, we need to verify all this information and give to us. But what Carbon did was they used Amazon recognition. You fill the form in the app, you take a picture of yourself, you could take a selfie, it doesn't matter. And you use recognition to validate if you're a proper human being.
Okay.
That's the first stage.
Yep.
And then they also validate your ID card that you send to them right from the app. So within minutes, you are onboarded into the app, and you know if you are eligible for a loan within minutes, which used to take days.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, that also changed the name of the game. And I mean, they also extended it into, you know, checking your credit score with the Center for Bureau for Statistics, and able to know if you have a good credit rating, how many places have you collected money from, borrowed money from, did you pay back, and all that. So whole integration and connectivity between the systems has changed a lot. And then you also have fintechs who are also looking into the Bitcoin space. So they are also trying to make it so easy to get into Bitcoin, investments, you know, money transfer within Bitcoin, and a whole lot of things are actually going on. So in Nigeria are so much around the fintech ecosystem. A lot of companies are doing very well. A lot of companies are actually taking the cloud as, cloud first. No one is going to build an infrastructure for themselves, you know, to do that sort of thing. So the cloud is just the way that all these things are running, and it has been very interesting. It has opened up a lot of more opportunities for people. It has opened up a lot of middle businesses that stand between these guys as exchangers. You know, it has opened up a lot of jobs too, you know, job opportunities for people
Absolutely.
to be able to get employed, you know, get into systems if the fintech system is not there, you will not have a lot of cloud engineers the way you have them right now. The explosion of cloud engineers has been tremendous. Like 5-6 years ago, you have a lot of people saying, oh, I'm a cloud engineer. Why? Because there's a fintech company that is using AWS to build applications, to deploy applications, to scale their systems. Someone technical needs to understand that and be able to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, so the improvements to the financial systems can only help the liquidity of the economy and just lift a country.
Yeah,
and that makes an awful lot of sense. So we're obviously having a few problems with the internet connection between Australia and Nigeria. It is a long way, so it's not that surprising, I suppose. There's probably a lot of hops and changes along the way. Look, it's been really awesome talking to you. Your enthusiasm for cloud and AWS is quite infectious, and it's been a pleasure. Now, you're writing a book at the moment, is that right?
Oh yes. Infrastructure, monitoring infrastructure with CloudWatch, with Amazon CloudWatch. So I'm actually writing a book right now. Awesome. It's supposed to be published next year, but I'm still at the middle of it right now. So
We'll watch out for that, and please send me a link to that when you have it, so that we can all take a look. That'd be brilliant.
Oh yes, I do.
How can people get in touch with you between now and then? How can people get in touch?
Yeah, I'm actually I'm on Twitter. I'm on LinkedIn.
Okay.
I'm very active on LinkedIn. Yeah, and I'm on Twitter. I'm going to send my handle over to you so you can actually post the video. Yeah, but I'm actually on LinkedIn. I'm actively on LinkedIn. I'm also part of the community here. We have a DevOps community back here in Nigeria where we reach out to people both within and outside Nigeria. We organize programs, where we get people together, we'll talk about this stuff. And some of my videos are out also on YouTube about where I talk about, cloud and AWS. I have a YouTube channel. I'll be doing a video very soon on reInvent. Okay, I'm going to be summarizing reInvent. And I know that a lot of the announcements are exciting for me, okay, but a lot of people are like, what does that even mean? I mean, when Vena announced Cloud Shell, I almost jumped off my seat. I'm like, finally we're here. But some people are like, okay, come on, it's just a terminal, But understanding that I don't have to launch an EC2 instance anymore to get my EKS running it's a lifesaver. It's a game changer. Understanding that if I want to run in the AWS command, I personally, okay, I have a confession to make. I personally, whenever I see an AWS CLI command, I run away. I'm like, oh, so I need an EC2 instance to do this. No, I'm just going to put it aside. But now it's going to make me do more CLI commands, AWS CLI commands, because it's just activating the shell and I'm up. So it's going to change the way we do cloud in the future, and it's going to change a lot of things. The fact that I can clone a repository within there, run my CloudFormation template or my Terraform template, try out commands immediately, get feedback. As I speak to you right now, I have two EC2 instances running. One of them is for testing any command line in AWS, and one of them is for my other things that I do. I'm going to terminate that. That saves me more money. And good enough, the Cloud Shell is free of charge, So it's going to change the way you use AWS. It's going to change the way you do a lot of things. Because the AWS CLI is very robust. It can do a lot for you, And being able to have that facility to run it easily anytime is going to make more people just use AWS CLI to build more services, okay? You want to test the pipeline. Before you set up your CI/CD pipeline, you need to test the scripts you're writing. You need to test your CloudFormation template. You need to validate it with the AWS CLI. This is something you can actually do from your terminal, even before you start doing any other thing, which saves you time, makes you move faster, makes your work much better.
I'm interested in that service too. I'm going to have to loop back with you in maybe a few weeks, couple of months, see how you're getting on with it. Because I think the proof is going to be in the pudding for a lot of this stuff. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how well you make that work and what the different kinds of workflows are that we can develop with Cloud Shell. So yeah, very interested to see that. Hey, look, thank you so much for giving me some time to talk to you today. Hopefully you've not frozen again. And look, oh no, you've come back. Thank you so much for your time today. We're gonna leave it there and see if the internet can recover over time. Maybe we can connect back up in a little while and we can talk again. Really appreciate it. And thank you so much.